Okay guys, I'm going to do a hopefully brief video tutorial uh, establishing a workflow for this homework assignment for the courtesy counts assignment. I'm going to open Adobe Animate and then start up a new file. ActionScript 3.0 is the standard we want to attach ourselves to throughout the semester. I'm actually going to create a square composition this time. Let's say 500 by 500. And I'm just going to decrease the frames per second to 12, just in case, anticipating possibly doing some frame by frame animation in there, though it's not required. And then I'm going to search for, let's see, courtesy counts, MTA, and then you see there are all these images here. Keep your feet off the seat, this kind of thing. So I'll just get the showtime warning, download it to wherever the desktop, and then as you'll recall, you can import the file import to stage, and this coming week we'll talk about importing to library and what the library is all about. That's actually a really great way to do things. But for now, one thing, if you can't click on your JPEG file when you import, that's kind of obnoxious to be the default, but if you click on options here at the bottom, you can see that you can tell it to look for a certain file type. So if I just say all files, it should allow me to then import my JPEG. There we go. And then if I want to size it, I'm just going to use it as a guide. I don't really need to trace it or anything like that. Let's just do this. I just want to have a sort of style guide in a way for how I'm going to deal with my animation background and whatnot. You can see how they create this little stick figure. He looks really awkwardly drawn to begin with, so there's not too much pressure on you to do anything too elegant. Let's create a new layer to actually work upon. I'm going to create a rectangle, and here's one thing I didn't really mention in class, but you can fairly easily round the corners of your rectangle, which can be helpful. Set my stroke to whatever. We'll just try some things out. A lot of this is trial and error. I don't expect you to have everything perfectly down. I'm going to actually set my fill to nothing. When you want to set your stroke or fill to be non-existent, you can actually go in to the color picker and click on this square with a line through it, and that'll set it to nothing. And I'll just put a thick line around the edge for the heck of it, just to mimic the look of the original campaign. That's not looking good. I'm going to round my corners to like 25 and increase my width to 25. Let's try that. What does that look like? That's a little bit more what I want, but let's just take it down to 15. Anyway, so here's something close to the original. Whoops. And then if I double click, it'll select the whole object. When you round your corners like that, it'll actually be a little bit easy to break the form apart, unfortunately. Okay, so here I have my basic image, and I'll build the background and then just hopefully fast forward in the playback for you so you can see how I do it. Okay, now I'm saving my file. You can see that I've more or less got my background in there. Courtesy counts, Zagier. Save it to the desktop. Okay. Then I would draw my people on a separate layer. I think my new policy is going to be something a little bit ridiculous. A warning not to eat ice cream blindfolded while riding the subway. So I'm going to rough in some people here on a separate layer. I might want to put each person on a separate layer. I mean, it's something that I can rough in at the get-go and then further refine later on. You know, these things are always able to be refined after the fact. Let's zoom in. If you want to get detailed things drawn in, you can always zoom. And it doesn't matter about the color, but what the hell. I'll stick close to the original. Little circle. Higher up, these floating circles. And to get the dress, I can start off this way. And then do a little bit of a morph of the edge. I can drag the center of the shape to morph those edges. Also, if I want to kind of get this corner to turn into a curve, if I haven't rounded my original corners, it's a little tougher. But one thing I can do, I haven't gone into this yet, maybe you won't want to focus on this aspect, but there's a subselection tool that allows you to select individual points in your vector shape and like drag these handlebars and get a little bit more refinement of what your shape actually is. Now, this pen tool allows you to actually draw simple or complicated vectors and with Bezier curves and that kind of thing. Now, it can actually do things, edit your current shape. So if you've selected the different points, you can actually just use the pen tool to, for instance, erase one of your points, or you can use some of the other functionality here. There's actually a convert anchor point tool, and that will, if you click on this and drag, you can actually turn a straight corner into a rounded corner. So these vector points, they're either straight or they're rounded Bezier curves. Sometimes they could even be, you know, connections where one side is straight and one side is rounded. This stuff is just, it's up to you about how far you want to get into the weeds with this kind of drawing. For those who have a background in Illustrator, you'll be able to handle this a lot more easily. I'm not going to get too worried about that for now. But I think I will. So for instance, if I wanted to get her a little collar, and I don't have to do this exactly. This is not about perfection here. It's about getting the look, but not necessarily to the point of being entirely literal. So I turn on my pen tool, and then I just do the same thing. Now I have a triangle. Great. And so now I can have a little cuff, and I can go in there and refine it further, but it doesn't really matter. And now, let's see, to get her legs. Let's see, do I want to do a rounded rectangle or a really thick line? Oh yeah, it has an outline, so I'll do a rounded rectangle. I'll do 50-point rounding. Let's see what that looks like. Give her a little, yep. That looks like that's a pretty good leg. And then I'll do a second one. I might do it over here so that I can remember, if you're doing several shapes on the same layer, they're going to tend to want to blend together. So you might, if you want to do a little bit of changing of your form to start out, do it either off the stage entirely or just in a separate location on the stage where it doesn't intersect any other material from the same layer. So I got her in there, and I'm just gonna have, maybe I'll just be her, and maybe I'll just copy her over. Let's see. And you can see I can drag. I could just drag and select her entire body because if these underlying layers weren't locked, I would select parts of those layers as well. So just watch out for that. That's why I like to lock the layers I'm not working on. And I can simply, once I have this selected, cut. Oh, and also, of course, if it's the only thing on the layer, I can just click on the keyframe and it'll select that, everything that's on the layer. So I'm just going to cut and paste, put her her sitting over in that other seat. And then later on, if I wanted to, I can, at the end of the exercise, I can just crop, and we have a nice composition there where I just have everything nicely framed. So to fast forward, I'm going to, for now, lock everybody, start a new layer. He's going to be a bad guy. Let's put his various body parts on different layers. What is he gonna be? He's gonna be a, I mean, the way that they constructed these guys is pretty simplistic. So it's not gonna take you, you can just do it with the brush tool, whatever. I think I'm gonna do it with this guy, one leg. One leg over here. And I'm just doing this with my trackpad. I have my Wacom here connected in, but it's just so simple. The forms, I'm not even going to bother quite yet. And I'm just going to like connect these guys together. And now they're all one unit. So if I just go in, I can click on the little rounded part of the stroke and sync those things up, and I can smooth out that edge if I want to. I think I want to sort of animate all these separately, I think. So we'll do a little bit more refining of the body. I don't really like how it's looking at the moment. So let's distort him and maybe he'll be tubby. He's gonna be a fatso. He's an ice cream eater. Okay. This guy's stroke isn't quite the right size. Maybe I'll increase the stroke. By double clicking, I can select the entire shape. Is that a little better? What am I on? Like 3.45, whatever. 3.5. You can just type in the, oh my gosh, low battery. 3.5. It's another story of my life. Okay. And then the arms. And what I'll do for the arms, actually, I'm not going to mess around too much. I'll just copy paste for the arms, and then with the free transform tool, I will just shrink her down. Zoom in so you can actually see. Not perfect, but let's get these arms on their own layer. And I think I'm going to use a combination of shape tweens and motion tweens. So let's cut this arm, put them on its own layer, paste, And at this point, I'm starting to use a lot of layers here. So I'm going to say left arm. Just by double clicking on the layer, I can name them. This is the head. This, that's like the entire body at the moment. I'll call this body. And cut this, make a new layer, call this left leg, and paste. Oh no, and I forgot to attach the stroke. So do that again. I just undid Command Z a bunch of times. So cut, new layer, paste, and left leg. Cut, new layer, paste, right leg. I'm going to put the right leg under the body. See? You see how it went behind the body there of my tubby? Okay. I'm also going to have a right arm. So let's copy, or obviously copy, new layer, paste, or paste, paste in center, paste in place. And then I'm going to call this right arm. And right arm is going to go under the body as well, so that I can have this overlap the way I want it. Okay.